guys, thanks so much for coming back with us this week. Amanda and I are obviously thrilled. We'll get to talk to some of our friends today. We've known them for a while and got to spend a lot of time with them, but it's Jon and Heather Groves. And I know you guys are going to love hearing their journey and their testimony. So, guys, thanks so much for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So you guys have, we've known you for, how long have you been at the church now?
Oh, goodness.
6 years,
Yes.
6 years.
roughly.
So while you guys were in California.
Yeah, because I think, I can't remember how long you'd been here before I came back, but I remember coming back. And
Within a year. It was
Within a
the
year.
August before.
No kidding. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. Very cool. And you guys have how many kids?
Three.
And they are how old?
23.
Yeah.
Wait,
20.
Almost.
I got a
23.
boy, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
our son
Yeah.
is 23.
Single?
Yeah.
Yes.
Single.
Single.
Yes.
Single.
Single. Yes.
Others like, yes.
He's
Single.
He is ready to meet
He
someone.
looks like a rock star, and,
Oh my gosh.
and he owns a guitar.
Can he play?
We don't need to go there. He just,
Everything's
he's got
in
two things
process.
down.
So he's 23 in single.
Yep.
Single,
Yes.
single,
That's
as you
right.
say.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
And then our oldest daughter is 20. and
Yes.
Madison, and she is engaged.
Wow.
And which
Getting
is
married
crazy.
very soon.
Yeah.
Very soon, yeah.
And then our youngest daughter is 17, Kylie.
And Kylie is at my house often.
Yeah.
Off.
We
And
get-
Nicole is at our house often.
Yes, she
we're
is.
we
Yeah.
call ourselves the step parents.
We're like co-parents.
I know, right?
I feel like
know,
we're
yes.
co-parents.
We're
Yes.
doing a good job.
Yeah.
We're doing a good job. This is one of the things that we say. I don't know if Nicole's ever shared this with you, but it's like anytime, like if Nicole's like, "Oh, Dad, I don't want to do that," I'd be like, "You know who wouldn't have to hear that from his daughter? Jon Groves."
It's true.
but we were constantly. You guys come up in our daily conversation because Nicole she just loves you guys, and they're very close, and obviously she's been at your house a lot.
Yeah.
But you guys recently moved.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
So we used to live really close to us, which I think is how the kids became
Yes.
so close.
Yep.
And now you moved to your dream house.
Yes.
We did.
And before this is over, I definitely want us to talk about that, just
Yeah.
that
Okay.
journey to that.
Yeah.
That's
All
why
right.
I'm bringing it up now. A little
Okay.
spoiler, you have to wait for that. But
Okay.
that's kind of where I want to get to, is just where you guys are at today.
Okay.
But I think it'd be great if we could just start, you guys just sharing like your testimony, how you encountered God, what that transformation was like for you. And then we can just kind of go from there.
Okay.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yeah.
You
So-
want it, you start.
Okay, well, I'll start. All right, so like my salvation, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I was not a good teenager. So I was saved at 18, and I was one of those kids that was like my friends' parents' worst nightmare because they all loved me. I was like the get along with everybody kind of guy.
Sure.
And I was terrible. And behind the scenes, from probably 15.
Sure.
And I was drinking and smoking weed all the time and selling weed to my friends in high school and stuff like that. And it was, but in front of them, I was like I was the one they all wanted their kids to hang out
Right.
with because I was the good kid, you know. And yeah.
Oh, listen, none of my friends' parents thought, "Hey, be like Karl." That never happened.
And from a perspective of like church, I grew up in the Catholic Church.
Sure.
And it was interesting because my parents were divorced at 14, kind of hence the whole 15-year-old like sway to the side, right? But and so before they were divorced, you know, we went to church, you know, a few times a year. Sometimes we'd go multiple Sundays. I grew up going to, you know, catechism classes and all that stuff. And but grew up with the mindset that we're a Christian nation.
Sure.
So people are Christians, right? And so I would go to like youth groups from other churches and stuff like that with my friends and stuff like that, but never really having a real understanding of any of that stuff, you know. And you know, we never read the Bible or anything like that. Nothing like that ever happened. And then there was this journey that for a couple years at the end of high school where I just had this very weird, like, strange, intense desire to be a college athlete.
Okay.
And thought about it a lot, wanted to, and never really had much of the talent until right?
a prophet.
No, that's why this was like a dream. This was like,
Yeah.
right? But then my junior year, I just went out for track mid-season, and one day, literally, I didn't even do a practice. I went to the meet, had on just regular old running shoes, and I went and I did high jump, and I high jumped like 5'8".
Wow.
And my coach is like, we could use you. And so by the end of that season, I had done 6'2". By the end of my senior year, I had done 6'8", and was recruited by a small Christian college.
That's
and,
amazing.
And the Christian college was right down the road. And I had, outside of that, I had already been accepted, had a room picked out and everything. Had my roommate picked out to go to Central Michigan.
Okay.
Because it's because of its high quality education.
Yeah.
No,
Good story, bro.
That's
Yeah. And I mean, there's also a casino there and whatever, but no, literally because it was a party school. That's
Yeah,
the reason
100%.
I was going. Why are you going to school? What are you going to school for, John? I don't know. I'm going because everybody goes to school,
Yeah.
right? That's just what you do. You go to college, right? But it was a party school, and I wanted to go with my buddy who I was friends in high school with. He was going to be my roommate, and it was going to be awesome, right? Well, this small Christian school 5 miles down the road recruited me to run track there.
That's
and
awesome.
And they offered me a track scholarship. Now, how much was that track scholarship? Irrelevant. Because that was my mindset at the time, right?
100%.
So, I went there, and it was $15,000 a year to go there in '95. Okay.
Wow.
And so it's so pretty expensive. And well, let me go back. It was $12,000 a year, but I wanted to live in the dorms 5 miles away from my parents' house. For some odd reason, so it was $15,000.
Wow.
And the track scholarship was $1,000. And then they gave me an art scholarship because I was an artist too. I was going to school for art, and I got a $500 scholarship for that. So 10% in scholarships.
Nice.
I paid zero attention to the numbers because I'm going to be a college athlete.
Right. Yeah.
Well, at this Christian school, met some great people, met my wife there. We ended up going to, within a month of me going there, I went to this concert for this band called Jars of Clay.
Yes.
And
Oh,
I'd heard this
forever.
song called The Flood, and
Yeah.
it sounded pretty cool, and everybody else is going, so I thought I'd go. But before I went there, I kept hearing people talk about being a Christian. And when I became a Christian, and when I accepted Christ, and I'm a Catholic,
Yeah.
I'm like, what are you talking about? What were you before, a Muslim? I don't get it. I don't understand what you're talking about. I have no clue. And I kept asking, and they would say, when you accepted Christ into your heart. I'm like, oh, God, well, I guess I did that when I was born, because I don't know why you guys did it so much later. I don't know how you grew up.
Right.
But, I was born that way,
I'm way ahead of everybody.
Right. And so we went to this Jars of Clay concert. And I've been to a number of Christian concerts.
Sure.
And this has never happened. At this concert, the lead singer stopped the concert and just felt the Holy Spirit was telling him to give his testimony. And he gave his testimony, and it was basically my exact story, with the exception of instead of being a track athlete in college, it was being in a band.
Yeah.
Substitute that. Other than that, everything was the same. And the Holy Spirit. I realized the Holy Spirit had been working on me this many years before that, and led me to that moment. And that's where I accepted Christ. Now after that, I ended up never running track for that school. I trained for that whole first semester, but because it was $15,000 a year, and I only had 10% of that in scholarships, where's the rest of the money coming from, John? 90%. You got to figure that one out. And I'm over here like, I don't care. I'll figure it out somehow. Mom, sign the loan, right? Well, my mom decided not to sign the loan because she was smart, and I left the school. And so in that one semester, I met my wife and I met my Savior, and I never ran track. I only went there because I was going to be a college athlete.
Yeah.
And I left after one semester, and that was it.
Wow.
No kidding.
Yes, that's how I came to know the Lord, and then, well, we can get to the story about how we met.
Yeah.
After she talked.
So tell us your story.
Okay, so I grew up in church.
Yeah.
My mom was a pastor's kid.
wow.
In fact, all of my grandpa's brothers and sisters were in the ministry.
Oh, wow.
Like it was in the house, right?
Sure.
So there wasn't like this amazing transformation story necessarily.
Sure.
Grew up in church. My dad did not go to church.
Okay.
Because the whole huge long story.
Yeah.
He was mad at God, and
Yeah,
he had a
yeah.
very legitimate reason for being upset. And so, but I just thought, well, everybody goes to church,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so I went to summer camp. I did the whole thing. So when I was like 7, there was an altar call at camp.
Very cool.
And up till then, I hadn't realized that I needed to make a decision
Yeah.
because I went to church.
Right.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I went to church. I went to the kids club. I did all the things. And I was sitting there, and I wasn't gonna go up for the altar call because I just had this feeling like, well, yeah, I'm a Christian. Kind of almost the same thing, like because I grew up in church.
Sure.
I'm a Christian. And but I was sitting there, and Holy Spirit just really got a hold of me at 7 years old and was like, no, you need to go.
So good.
You need to walk up front and you need to profess me as Lord. And so I was just kind of like walking up like in a daze, like, what am I doing? Because I'm not one to be up front.
Sure.
So that alone was something that would have stopped me.
Yeah.
But I went up front and everything changed.
Amazing.
Because
And
then
you
I
said you were
understood. Seven
years old.
But then I understood.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
It was a
Yeah.
completely different experience going to church now. It was
Right.
It was, the songs meant something.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Just
Oh,
like
yeah.
those little things. So
Yeah, which are big things.
they're
right?
huge
They're
things.
huge things.
Right?
Yeah.
But when it becomes almost like background noise because it's a part of everything.
100%, yeah.
So it was just it was amazing to me. That's my journey anyway.
That's
And
a really good
Then I
journey.
spent the rest of my childhood and teen years trying to get my dad to go to church.
Did he ever go?
He didn't go then,
Very
and not till I was an adult with 3 kids. He
Wow.
finally went back to church.
Ah, good. What a great story, though.
So yeah.
That's amazing. So you get saved at 7. You all the way through school, working on dad.
Yeah.
And then you decide. Why did you decide to go to
Yeah,
this
did you-
really expensive
yeah.
Christian college? Were you an
Okay.
athlete as well?
That is hilarious. No. So I went. I originally wasn't going to go either.
Okay.
So I was actually going to come to Grand Rapids, and I was going to be going to Kendall.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But then, so the school we went to is Spring Arbor University now. It was Spring Arbor College back then.
Okay.
And teeny tiny little Christian school down by Jackson. And it was the college that was connected to our church denomination.
Oh. Okay.
Okay?
All right. Yep.
So it's the place that all of the pastors' kids went because
Sure.
they got a discount.
Oh.
Yeah. Key information.
Key information.
Well, and your grandparents both went there.
And both of my grandparents graduated from there
Sure.
when it was a junior college. Like, it was a whole thing. And so that, a group from that school came to camp every year and all that stuff. So I grew up knowing about the school, right? And I went on a visit because, as you do, right?
Right.
As a kid in the 90s, you went on all of the college visits.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Just get out of
whether
the
you
way.
had any
Yeah.
intention of going or not.
Right.
So I went on the visit, and I was just really impressed again by the Holy Spirit that
So good.
I kind of needed to change my plans.
Nice.
And so we didn't have the money for it either, but my parents did sign the loan paperwork.
Yeah.
And so I went there because God said, you need to go here, and I didn't know why.
All right.
So-
And how long did you stay?
yeah.
I was only there for a year and 1 semester
Okay. Okay.
because of
Me.
John.
John,
Track star.
listen.
Did you see him
The
on the
track
track?
star.
Is that what got you?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness, no.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No.
So tell us about the first time you see John. Tell us that story.
I don't honestly remember the first time I saw John.
That's
'Cause-
encouraging.
Truth,
It wasn't.
right?
It wasn't me with the short track shorts on.
No, Lord, no. I honestly don't remember. We had this mutual group of friends.
Yeah.
So he knew them from one angle, and I knew them from another angle.
Sure.
And it's, like I said, a tiny school.
Yeah.
Like, literally, it's like the graduating classes were like high school graduating
Sure.
classes.
Yeah.
Wait, what's that? Mine was 4, so.
Well, in the lower peninsula.
Normal society. Normal society.
There were 900 people in the entire college. That included commuters.
when we were there.
Yeah.
But see, I'm thinking
That's
you keep
smaller than
saying
my high school
Yeah.
was.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
right. So everybody kind of knew everybody. So within the first week we met because we had this mutual group of friends, and I wasn't impressed. Well,
Well, I mean,
you have to be honest. You were not impressive.
I used a great line.
Tell me, can I please hear this line?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's hear the line.
Well, so some friends and I had been talking, and they were like, "You got to meet. Have you met Heather?" And I was like, "No." And they're like, "You got to meet Heather." And they kept talking about Heather, like, "You and Heather, you guys be perfect," because these guys had already like paired up and stuff like
Sure.
that. I lived off campus for like 3 weeks, and then I was like, "Forget this. I'm gonna pay them more money. I'm gonna foot the bill
Right.
and go ahead and pay more money and live on campus." So they had already kind of paired up with some girls, because that's why you go to Christian school.
Yeah.
It's in the water.
I went to Christian school to get my MRS degree.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes,
Exactly.
That's
thank you.
exactly why you go.
Yes.
Apparently.
Exactly.
What's that?
MRS.
Oh,
Mrs.
married, getting married.
Miss is degree.
Yeah.
Mrs.
Okay.
degree.
How'd that work out? Yeah, well, I wasn't at the same school as you, girl.
Anyways.
So they were telling me about Heather, and they kept talking about this Heather girl. And I was
Sure.
like, okay, whatever, And I said, and then after that, we were talking about stupid pickup lines. right?
Okay.
And I was saying, well, this one time I was walking through the mall, and as I'm walking, this girl yells out at me. She goes, "Hey, baby, what's your digits?" Okay, so here we are at the college, and and you have to understand.
Just give me 1 second.
Did you answer her?
I don't remember if I did. I think I was shocked.
Yeah, I'm sure you were.
And so,
All right.
I'm convinced she wasn't even talking to him.
Yeah.
yeah, it could
I'm
be.
convinced
It
that
could
that's
be.
the story.
It could- I'm a pretty confident guy.
So
I
that
was
was
probably
your-
like, he was talking to me.
So this is your like.
So-
So that pickup line, you were like, oh, maybe that worked. So
No,
what
no,
was
I
your
didn't think
pickup?
that would work.
Okay.
We were talking about stupid pickup lines.
Okay.
Well, so in a Christian school, when you've got gender segregated dorms,
Right,
the
100%.
place to be is the commons, the common area,
100%,
right?
yeah.
And so we're in the common area, and
Carl has no clue
I have
about
no
that.
clue
No
about
idea.
and
This is
here
where you're
comes
allowed to be together.
and it's me and all my friends. We were just talking about these pickup lines,
Yeah.
and here come these girls walking in, and I had known a couple of them, but the one in there, they said that's Heather, and I was like, dang.
Yeah, come on.
That's
nice.
Heather.
Wow.
You're right. Absolutely. And
So you were immediately impressed.
oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I remember the moment. I remember the moment. And so they were like, go introduce yourself, And I'm on my way, and they were like, use the line, ask her for her digits.
No.
Right?
No,
and I'm
please.
like, that's stupid. I'm not gonna ask her for her digits. And they said, no, wait, it'll be funny. I'm like, well, if it's gonna be funny, all right then.
You're the kind of friends that I was to people.
Yes.
So the first thing I ever said to my wife was, "Hey, baby, what's your digits?"
I did not respond.
She melted, like on the spot. She fell in love.
My God. Oh my word.
That's, I just want to apologize to everybody that thinks that's a good idea. It's not.
Not
a good
not
idea.
a good
So,
idea.
so that's your first encounter
Yeah.
with Mr. Groves.
Yeah.
Yeah. So 0 response from me. I was like, and turned around.
Which
So-
I thought she digs me.
You were like, I
yeah.
got her.
That's
I got
it.
her.
She digs me.
End of story right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I wasn't a Christian yet, so I'm thinking, Christian girl, she just doesn't want to get too close yet. I'm kind of a rough dude, for this crowd. I mean, you got to understand at that time, I was.
No, it's fine.
At that time, I'm going to
my
a Christian
goodness.
school,
Yeah.
and just before I was going there, I used the F word as many ways as I possibly could.
Sure.
So here I'm at this Christian school, and I'm really working hard to say fudge and all flip.
You're cutting edge.
Oh
You're
yeah,
cutting edge.
so my language was like terrible, and so and,
Clearly.
Yeah.
Pickup line.
yeah, and so here I am like trying to be impressive, but also like watch my mouth and stuff like that. So yeah, she was.
So you weren't impressed.
I was not
No.
impressed. But like I said, we had mutual friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was inevitable. We were gonna start hanging out. We became friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, we became friends pretty quickly.
So we became. It's a short path to the wedding. All right. It's a short
Not
path.
as short as yours,
Yours is shorter.
but
Yours is shorter. But anyway, so right after that is homecoming. Christian school, homecoming's the thing.
Oh, it is.
You
It's a
can't
sit-down
dance. Wait a minute.
dinner.
You can't dance at this place.
can't dance.
You
So
were only there a semester.
there's a homecoming in the
Yeah.
fall.
In the
Is there
fall.
in the first semester?
Yeah, and at a
Yeah.
Christian school, you know what it is? It's soccer homecoming.
Wait,
It's not
wait a
football.
second.
Because you
there
don't
was
have
no
football
football.
teams.
No,
You
there are
only have
football
soccer
teams.
and volleyball.
I do have a question. Do colleges do homecoming?
Christian
ones do.
Because they don't have anything else.
Well, because it's with the time for all the boys and girls to work on their MRS degrees.
That's
right.
Right? That you go to dinner
That's right.
because there's no dancing. You
Yeah,
go
there
to
is, yeah.
dinner. You get all dressed up. Yeah.
Now, we did have a barn dance off campus,
Off campus on the down low.
unsanctioned
rebels. You
on the
rebels.
DL. Yeah.
You rebels.
But anyway, so
That's
so
how- I
homecoming
didn't
was.
know that. That's how I grew up.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So homecoming was coming up, and so I asked her on a date. We went on our first date. We saw the movie Seven. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
A fantastic movie.
Seven.
Apparently, she didn't think it
Brad
was.
Pitt?
Brad Pitt.
Yeah, yeah. Apparently, she didn't think it was a good first date movie. I thought it was fantastic.
I think it's a good first date
Whatever.
movie.
It's a
Okay,
great
the
movie.
movie's great. He didn't understand the
I
movie.
kept asking her questions all the time.
So the entire movie, I was explaining to him what was happening.
That's tough. That's
So
difficult.
what
And
about
I'm
Mary?
like, I
So what about-
can't do this.
yeah.
That sounds familiar.
I can't.
Can I say one thing? I
What are you
cannot
stuck on?
understand why a college would have a homecoming dance. That is the
Listen.
weirdest
We
thing.
didn't have a
Like,
dance.
this
It
is
was not a dance. It was a
dancing.
dinner.
It was just a dinner.
Dinner.
Wait a second. Wait.
Dancing is
Are
against
you
the
guys
rules.
are you guys pulling my leg?
No.
This is
you
a
can't-
real thing.
Listen.
Like, I'm so shocked you guys were to go to listen to Jars of Clay because that has like a little
Dude,
bit
that
of.
was-
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a little bit of edgy
They
music
played that in the
there.
game room.
Yeah.
And so a bunch of us were like, heard they were going to be in town, got a bunch of people to go. It
Yeah.
wasn't necessarily a college sanctioned
Yeah.
event.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because that also
I don't know
was
if this is
off
going to be the
campus.
greatest advertisement for Christian college.
Listen, I was
Probably
like this.
different now. I don't know.
Listen, first of all, it is much bigger now, so who knows
That's true.
what it is. But it was a great time.
Yeah.
We had
Sure.
a great time.
Yeah.
A lot of great friends. You got to know people for real. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? It was
Yeah,
very
yeah,
real.
yeah.
But they had a homecoming because they wanted all of the what are the people called that come back? That
Alumni?
graduate? Alumni. Thank
Yeah.
you. They come back and then they get money out of them.
Yes.
So that's
Private
why they have
schools.
It's homecoming. The alumni's come home.
Private schools.
Whatever. You just made that up.
That's what it is.
That's what it's supposed to
No.
be. Yeah. That's what
Listen,
That's why it's homecoming.
I'm literally blown away that a university would waste time on
I don't
homecoming.
think this is.
Listen, because they need the money. It's a
Okay.
private
And-
school.
and remember, it was college back then.
homecoming was.
College, right. I
It
just
wasn't a
cannot-
university. It was a college. They needed the money. That's when they get all the alums to come back, and then they get money from them. They pledge
Sure,
certain
and then
amounts
they
of
have
money.
you guys dress up and go out to dinner?
Yes, because they also have events for the alumni.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. It's honestly a way to get money.
So we went on. So we went on this date.
Yeah.
And I'm
For homecoming.
No.
No.
Before homecoming.
Before homecoming.
I'm looking for a homecoming date.
He's
So we went on a
the
date,
hunt.
and after, because everything went
Heather.
really good.
Did everything go really good?
She
that first
loved
date?
the movie.
Listen, he did not give me food.
This is irrelevant.
We
No, this is
literally-
important
No,
stuff.
this is important. I'm in college. An off-campus meal sounds amazing. There was no food.
There's free food at the college. I don't get whatever.
We went to the movie. I had to explain the entire thing to him.
Did you buy your own ticket?
I think he did buy the ticket. I
course,
don't remember
'cause I'm a
buying the
gentleman.
ticket. 'Cause- So, we went to the movie. I had to explain the whole thing, and then I was like, you know what? We should probably just get back to campus.
So
It was
then on the way
late.
back, I asked her, "Do you want to go to homecoming?" She says it's not her thing. You know what I heard?
Yes.
I'm not her thing.
Okay.
Oh.
Okay.
So I'm moving on.
Yeah.
I found me another date.
You did not.
I absolutely did.
No,
Immediately.
you.
Found me another date.
Are you
Yep.
serious?
Yeah, I needed a date. I wasn't gonna be the only one without a date, and she said it wasn't her thing. I later found out she had to take care of her grandfather, who
Sure.
after that passed away, and that's all sad.
I was
and-
going to
and-
take care of my grandpa.
But I
and
mean,
that, I didn't know him well enough to like go into the whole thing. Like, well, my
Yeah, yeah,
grandma's
you've only
in the
been on one
hospital.
day.
My
Yeah.
grandpa has Alzheimer's
I mean,
and,
and I-
he needs to be cared
Yeah.
for.
and
I'm going to go
and
do
I
that
care
for the
about
weekend.
that, but I need a date for homecoming. Like, come on. Like, we have to pay attention to. We got to focus here on what's important.
I just
So
wanna-
did you find one?
I did.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. So
When though? When?
it was soon after next weekend, something like that.
It was-
and then after that, actually, that girl ditched me at homecoming, and
That's what he gets. Is all I have to say.
Amen.
Yep,
That's what he gets for
and I
that.
would say, like, and I met this other girl, and we dated for a few months. She crazy, so we broke up. And then her and I started, and actually, her and I right after that, started going. What did we do? We went to your house.
We went to my house.
Went back to her house for a weekend. The 4 of us, a couple friends, and we just hung out. And that weekend, I was like, this is my girl. Like, I'm going to marry this girl. I just know it.
Holy cow, really?
Oh, I knew I was going to, and we weren't even dating.
You were taking a different girl
We'd
to
gone on
homecoming.
the one date.
Yeah.
When I took a different girl to
And then you were
homecoming.
just like-
And
dated
then
somebody
dated another
else
girl for
Right.
months.
for a few months. But that weekend, when we went to her house, like in January of that year, that next year was like 96, I just knew I was going to marry her.
No
And-
kidding.
And 2 weeks later was Valentine's Day.
So you needed a date.
That was when that was our first official, like, we're dating.
Wait a minute. What happened the other day?
Oh,
That don't count?
She was crazy. Remember?
She's
left
crazy. She's crazy. She's
No, I'm talking about the
Listen.
first date you guys had. So you don't count that first date as a date.
Oh, we kind of do.
It was
we
a
do.
bad
But
date.
this is when we were like official. We're together.
So you wait, hold on. Your
couple.
first date, you decide we're together.
No.
No, the
okay.
first
That was
date,
the
and then there was like
second
a
date,
4-month
yeah.
period. This is kind of our second date.
This is so confusing to me. I
Okay.
love this.
Okay.
I just
I
love
can
this.
tell.
So your Valentine's date, now you're officially
Wait, what
boyfriend and
date?
girlfriend.
What
Valentine's Day?
Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day? Valentine's Day.
I love it.
You're officially boyfriend and girlfriend on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
It's Valentine,
I don't know.
not times.
And
On
then
multiple days.
so that was February of '96.
Okay.
January of '97, we were married.
That's amazing.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. And in the midst of that, in the meantime, I had gone in the Air Force and went through basic training and technical school, and so we got married. I had a 2-week break between technical school and me going off to my duty station, and in that 2 weeks was in January. So we got married in January in northern Michigan. 2 feet of snow the night before the wedding.
Yeah.
No
Like
way.
literally,
I would recommend it.
my dad was at the hotel getting ready to leave to go to the wedding, and he looks out and he had his Suburban, and he looks out the window and he's like, "I don't see our truck because it was covered with snow."
You were in
The-
Marquette, right?
No, in Traverse
No,
City.
Traverse City.
Yeah.
So,
Well, south
lake
of Traverse
effect.
City, there's like a snow belt.
Got you.
And I mean, just major snow that day. I almost got a wreck on the way to the wedding. It was a mess.
No way.
Terrible.
So you
that
guys,
great?
so you went into the Air Force. When did you go in the Air Force?
I went in August of '96. So
So we
so,
started
so
dating.
this is good. This is good. What happened is that Valentine's Day, Times.
Valentine's.
The times of
It was a
Valentine's
miracle that
Day.
was- I love
we
it. Those two things.
that day I went and I was looking for a job because I wasn't going to go back to school. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. I'd actually kind of gone through a period, probably the only time in my life I've actually gone through any sort of depression.
Sure,
Was when I found out I couldn't go back to school and I lost quote unquote all my Christian friends because you had to
Right,
go
yeah.
to school to be friends with them apparently.
Sure,
You know,
sure.
and so gone through this time of depression and needed to figure out something to do. And I said to my dad one day, I said, I saw an Army commercial. And I said, maybe I'll go in the Army. And he said, son, I was in the Army. And we saw the guys in the Air Force. We had barracks, they had dorms. They had food, we had chow. I'd go in the Air Force if I were you. And it was just a brief conversation.
Yeah.
That was the length of it. And one day I had gone and applied to be a server at some restaurant. And while I was there, there's this guy, and he says, "You looking for a job? I own a factory. I'll hire you tomorrow." And he took me to his factory, and he walked me around the floor and showed me where I'd be working and stuff like that. And I thought, and I was like, great, cool, I'll have a job tomorrow. And I left there, and I pulled up to a stoplight, and I remembered working at a restaurant once where all these factory guys would come in at midnight and stuff.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking of them, and nothing against working in a factory, it's great work.
Yeah,
but I
absolutely.
just thought to myself, I know me, and if I go there tomorrow, I'm gonna wake up in 40 years there.
Yeah.
And where I was at this stoplight, the Air Force recruiter was right there. And so I put on my blinker, I turned in and signed up. And hadn't
Wow.
told anybody. I just made a decision on the spot and signed my life over to the U.S. government. For
Wait,
4
you had
years.
a
And you were still dating.
That was the day, that was Valentine's Day.
It was
That was the
Valentine's
day that we
Oh,
were
wow.
official because here's what happened. The first person I went and told was Heather. I drove to Spring Arbor.
Yeah.
And I went and found her and I told her, I said, listen, I know we were talking and we were like going to be dating and stuff, but I'm leaving. And at the time, I thought I'm leaving next week. Now it didn't happen for 6 more months.
It is an absolute miracle you guys are married.
Oh, it is.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, there's way more. But anyway, no, I said I'm leaving, and so I know long distance is not easy.
Yeah.
And so I understand if you don't want to keep things going. And she said, I want to keep things going. I said, we're getting married. I knew in that moment we were getting married.
That's amazing.
And I didn't propose for a few more months, but I just knew we were getting married in that moment.
So was it true about the Air Force versus the Army? Did you have?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We were. I was at a base near an Army base and a Navy base, and we totally had it.
Yeah, we had friends at both the Army
Uh-huh.
and Navy bases, and they were both trying to get into the Air Force because you can work your way
They
into
all
a
talk
different
about how
branch.
Air Force is soft or something. I'm like, hey, listen, I didn't know anybody trying to get out of the Air Force to the Marines. I didn't know anybody trying to get into the Navy. They were all trying to get into the Air Force. So just saying,
I would
you know?
imagine. I would imagine. So you guys, it's such an interesting beginnings, you know. And one of the things we talk about a lot is how important beginnings are. And I love the fact that you signed up to go away for the next 4 years.
The day we had talked about, hey, okay, we're going to start dating now. The very day.
But that was the thing that convinced you were going to marry her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's really interesting.
Which, from my perspective, when he told me that, I said, I want to keep things going. I immediately went back to my dorm room and started bawling. Like, I was crying.
Oh, sure.
Not because he was leaving, but because I had said that.
Sure.
I was like, why did I say that? I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
I don't want to keep going when he's going to leave, and what's the point, and all this stuff. And I was like, because, I mean, we're friends, but that's it. Like, I don't really know if it's worth the hassle. So I didn't know why I had said that.
Wow.
But I did.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, well, we'll see what happens.
How long before you knew you were going to marry him?
It wasn't long.
Yeah.
Because he didn't leave in 2 weeks. He had some things going on. He had some medical issues to deal
Sure.
with that needed to be, because they're like real strict about everything.
Like, it's
right?
the Air Force,
Like,
it's not the Army.
He was
right.
he was real skinny.
Anybody
Sure.
who's in the Army right now, just say,
Yeah.
just
No, they know they're tougher.
it's a mutual
Here's the
thing.
thing. They know they're tougher.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So John had some stuff to deal with to go,
Yeah.
to like leave. So that was in February. He actually didn't leave until August.
Eight times she took me to Lansing. We hugged, we kissed, we said goodbye, we cried. This is it. We're done. Goodbye. And then Heather,
Can you come pick me up?
can you come get me? So like
the greatest story ever.
So
This
the
is-
time that I actually left, it's like I'll probably call
See
you
ya.
half an hour.
It was.
I called her 3 hours later. I'm like, I'm in San Antonio.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It
So
was a bit shocking.
So let me ask you this. So we talked about you. So you got saved the first semester of school. You meet your
Yeah.
own Savior. You meet your wife. But now you have this kind of thing where you're out of college. You're kind of wandering in life, trying to figure it out. You land on the Air Force, which was obviously a well thought out plan.
Yes.
But like, how? Like, were you going to church? Were you guys part of a church? Like, what was going on in your world and in your world at that time as you're dating? You're getting ready to go to the Air Force. You're thinking about getting married. Like, tell me what your thought process was. Where were you spiritually?
So again, I was still in school.
Yeah.
So I'm still in a Christian school. There's chapel 3 days a week in the morning. That's
Wow.
required, right? You have to
Okay.
like literally sign in, kind of a thing. So required chapel, highly encouraged. There's a church kind of attached to the school, not like physically attached,
Yeah.
but it's like right across the street, and it's the church that everybody goes to, right? And so you're highly encouraged to participate on Sundays. There's 2 services to choose from, and you're encouraged to go to Sunday school. So I'm doing all of these things, which is what I've always done.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me, that's the journey. And then he's brand new. So he's got his brand new Bible that my mom bought him, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to the same church.
Well, yeah. During that 6 months I was waiting to go in.
Yeah.
We were going to the same church.
Yeah,
and-
we were going to church together and everything.
Yeah.
And we did like this little Bible study. My friends and I did this little
Yeah.
Bible study in the evenings for him.
Yeah.
Because he
was
had
good.
he had no idea.
Totally get that.
Like
Yeah.
he said, well, you're a Christian. Well, what were you before? Like
Yeah.
you became a Christian? What does that even mean? So he was clueless, like had never cracked a Bible kind of a thing.
Wow.
And so we had this little, in the stairwell we did it.
Yeah, we
this
did,
little
yeah.
Bible study just to kind of help him, like, because he's leaving.
Yeah.
In 2 weeks.
In 2
in
weeks.
2 weeks.
Right.
In
For
2
6
weeks.
months.
Right, right.
I'm leaving in 2
weeks.
weeks.
And so we're like, we need to get some foundations in him before he
Sure.
heads off to
Yeah.
who knows what,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, this friend of
So-
mine named Joe Mole, shout out Joe Mole. He, I don't even know where that guy's at anymore, but he gave me a Bible and recommended that I read one of the Gospels. Well, one of them's John, and I'm like, well, of course.
Of
I'm gonna read
course,
that
he's the
one.
best,
so,
right?
So I opened it up, and I'm like, wow, that's a lot to read. So then I was like looking through, and I was like, oh,
There's a
First
couple
John.
other ones.
That's
Yeah.
really short.
Yeah.
I'm gonna read First John, yeah, and then I can tell everybody I read part of the Bible. You know,
That's
It's so
awesome.
funny
I
when
think
Carl
Yeah.
got saved. He didn't know there was, because he asked Greg Hammond what to read, and he said John.
Yeah.
Carl
Yeah.
didn't know there was a regular John.
No, I
so
did,
he
but I
went
thought you had to
first-
start with 1 John.
because
Yeah.
it's number one.
Which
Because I
would
know it's
make
number 1.
sense.
Yeah, so I was like, I'll read first, second, and then there's the other John.
Well, he called it the regular.
I called it
John.
the regular John,
Yeah.
which you read after one,
Yeah.
1 through 3.
as you
Sure.
do.
Right.
Yes.
1 through 3 are 3 introductions to the big.
That's
one. Yeah.
that's kind of. I thought they were the prequels.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
that's right.
and so I
But they're
so I would.
after.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
Like,
but
But
that's.
you don't know that when that's where you start. I guess you don't know that.
Yeah, I just looked for John. I saw 1 John. I was like, oh, that makes sense. 1 John. So for years and years and years, I would like tell everybody who got saved, oh, you know what you
Nice.
do? Read 1 John.
1 John.
Yeah.
And I would say don't confuse it with regular John.
Yeah.
1 John.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it was
Hey,
yeah.
Oh, and I
apparently it was a
stuck-
great start.
Yeah.
I stuck in 1 John 1
Yeah.
for months.
It's a great chunk of scripture.
It's thick. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, you're reading it's talking about the light and being
Yeah,
the light. And,
absolutely.
And I just like my mind was just exploding reading this
Yeah.
scripture outside of the Bible study we did. Like I kept going to that, and so every time somebody, I'd like quote scripture. I'm quoting from 1 John 1. You know,
There you go.
Like,
Just Christian school. You got to throw that in there.
Oh yeah.
that's right.
So
well, you know what it says in 1 John 1.
can I ask another question? You said something I thought was interesting, a little bit off topic. In college, they require you to go to church in the morning?
Yeah.
It's called chapel. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's only 3 days a week.
Yeah.
It's not all 5.
That's it.
It's 3 days a
Okay.
week. And yeah, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, no classes during that time because
Yeah.
everybody at the school, all
It should be
900
there.
people, are at chapel. And it was great. I loved chapel.
No, I'm sure. I'm surprised.
It was a
that-
time
the
of
requirement
Is this an
interesting.
accredited college?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, mine was not, and I
Okay.
did not know that.
All right,
so.
I'm just
Oh,
curious. of
yeah,
that.
no,
Mine
it
was
was.
non-accredited.
It was.
All right, fair enough.
But
Good
they
enough.
were just like trying to keep us on track. Here's the thing. It was a denominational school.
Sure.
And I grew up law, not grace.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
So there you go.
Yeah, it makes
so
sense.
that's why the
I just
no
think it's
dancing,
interesting. I love hearing about
no playing
this,
cards,
this story.
no-
No
yeah.
playing cards, no dancing.
Did you play?
No dancing.
We were allowed to play spoons.
We were not allowed to play spoons or anything like that. We could play like Uno.
Oh, okay.
Was kind of like okay,
Okay. Fair
right?
enough.
Board games were fine, but
Were you
like
allowed to watch TV?
yes,
Oh, I was not. So,
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
anyways, so
No
you go,
jewelry though.
Oh,
That's
no.
rough.
You broke that
I
rule.
broke that
You were
rule.
a
Oh,
rebel.
she-
I did too.
When we
I
met,
went
she had 2
overboard.
rings on every finger. She's like, check
Dude.
me out.
That was my rebellion.
Yeah.
She's a
It
rebellious
was
teenager.
serious.
So you go to basic.
Yeah.
You guys are still
First
dating.
John,
Yes.
Yeah.
right?
And
Yeah.
And in basic, I was like, I became the
Chapel assistant.
the chapel assistant for my
that's
my
amazing.
Air Force flight. I became the guy that
that's
got
so
everybody out of
amazing.
bed and walked them all to church on Sundays, because on Sundays the training instructors weren't there.
Sure.
And so we had our own. They came in the afternoons or evenings to make sure we were doing our stuff, but they kind of like let us go a little bit.
Yeah.
And so on Sundays, I was the guy who got them all up and let's go off to church. And then the next week, I'm like, I heard there's a Sunday school. Who's going to Sunday school? And gathering everybody up. It was me and this other guy that we would make sure that we got everybody together, and we'd have to march in formation to go there.
Sure.
So we made sure we did that and stuff like that. It was
that's
pretty
really cool. And so, and how long was basic?
6 weeks.
And then when did you come back?
So I came back. So that was.
when they got married.
Yeah, well,
right?
that was August to October.
Okay.
And then I went straight to tech school. October, December, there was a brief moment I came back for Christmas time.
Sure.
And then went back again, and then mid-January, January 15th or so, I was I came back. It's you come back to help the recruiter for a couple weeks. That's your work, but it's essentially a couple week break.
Sure.
And that's when we got married.
Well,
And
when
we
did you
literally-
propose?
It was before I left for basic.
Okay.
right
Yep.
before.
Yep, in a moment of spontaneity.
Wait, one of the times
wasn't
right
thought
before you
out.
were
Shock.
leaving,
Yes.
or the one time you came back, or
What's that?
It ended up being actually right before he left.
So it was
Okay.
the
Like
time.
was the
legitimately
time.
right before he left.
And you
Yep.
said yes?
And I said yes.
Yep.
And the plan was to wait a year or more,
Sure.
right? Was the original plan.
But she missed me so much.
Yeah, no. So, I mean, I did, but that wasn't why.
Sure. Okay.
Honestly, okay, so I'm a very practical person,
Yeah. for
right?
sure.
So he's gone. I've got school, but now I'm thinking about these loans that are kind of building up, and so I'm thinking, I don't know if I should stay here. Because this is really expensive
Yeah.
and all that sort of thing. And now I'm thinking I'm going to be getting married. So now this is all my responsibility suddenly.
Right.
Right? So it's just like things are starting to dawn on me a little bit. He doesn't want to go to his duty station not married because then he has to live in the dorms. So
Well, and I mean, honestly, I was like, it doesn't, like, I don't know why we don't just get married. Let's just get married. Like, I don't want to do
That,
this.
like, I mean,
I'm
why-
sick of this, like, phone call thing
Right.
back and forth. Let's just get married and be done, you know, and
Yeah.
move on.
This is
right?
amazing.
So-
Yeah.
Oh, for
And
sure.
Why-
and
why
like,
wait, right?
Yeah,
Let's
right.
just do it.
And so we had decided that, and so when I came back for Christmas, I decided to go ahead and announce it to the family, hey, we're getting married next month. We'll
Yeah,
we'll
well,
get the invites out as soon as we can, I guess.
we found, because we were writing letters
Yeah.
really every day because mail was a huge deal for him.
Yeah.
Like receiving mail is like a lifesaver
Sure,
during this
sure,
process that he's
yeah.
in. And so I'm literally sending off letters every day to make sure he has something to open every day. It was nonsense. It was just like, today I had this class and we had this at lunch. It was just like, because you don't have anything to say at that point.
Sure.
And so we found these letters and we noticed that at Thanksgiving, we still hadn't decided that we were getting married in January yet. We were still talking about getting married that following summer.
No way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when he came back, like right before Christmas, he's like, I don't want to go to a duty station not married. And I was like, well, I don't know that I want to go back to school because it's really expensive. So we're like, well, let's just go ahead and get married then. Because, I mean, we're 19.
Right.
Right?
We're all set.
you know everything, right? Like,
Right?
I know.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
that's why
we're-
the Air Force picked me. because I knew
Incredibly, they
everything.
picked you. We're incredibly mature.
Yeah.
And so we're like, let's just go ahead and get married. So we did. We told everybody
Yeah.
at Christmas that in 1 month exactly, because we got married January 25th, that we were going to be getting married. And they
And
were
so-
all like,
and that was a Saturday.
okay.
We had one night in Traverse City at a hotel. The next morning we went and got our U-Haul, packed it up, and we drove to Virginia for I had to report to duty on Tuesday.
No kidding.
No honeymoon. We just our
Just
honeymoon was like on the way
drive,
down
yeah.
in Nitro, West Virginia, one night in a cheap motel.
Pizza.
So how long after you get married before you have your son?
So, let's see, about a year and a half.
About a year and a half.
So, yeah. 'Cause
that following September, I think you knew you were pregnant.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we got married in January. In September, I found out I was pregnant.
So how was your walk with God at this time? Like what did that look like? You're you're out of the place you've been your whole journey.
Now it's up to us.
Now it's up to you. Like what was that like?
Well, we connected. So one of the guys I worked with was a Christian, and it was really great because we were able to connect with some people right off the bat in the Air Force, you know.
Sure.
And so we went to his church. We actually didn't go for very long. We didn't really care for it, but he helped us he kind of directed us to some different places. We ended up going to the base chapel,
It was
which
a
is just the
non-denominational-
absolute most vanilla. Like it's like trying to
So
appease
nothing.
everybody in every
Sure.
denomination. So you got nobody there, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we went there for a bit, and then we ended up.
It was a struggle.
Yeah, we ended up finding this church not too far away where we found this really great church family we could be a part
So
of,
cool.
and we ended up leading the youth group there.
Wow.
And which those kids are all grown and have their own kids, and they're all. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, they're all old now. I mean, we were what 22,
Yeah.
21.
So we were the youngest youth
Yeah.
leaders they'd ever had.
And,
Thought
and,
we
they,
were
and
cool
they're
together.
17, and we thought we were so much older than them. So it's weird because like now they're in their 30s, and we're like, how
Right.
are they so old? You know. But anyway, so yeah, we led youth there and things like that. So we progressed pretty quickly. I progressed pretty quickly in my spiritual growth just because of our relationship and how we discuss things. But I progressed to a point, and then I kind of like, I really felt like I leveled off for a long time. Like like call it like I got to kindergarten and stayed there for 12 years.
Sure. And you had your daughter while you were in the military as well.
No,
I got pregnant while we were in the military.
Okay, so you leave. So you leave the military, which that's always a culture shock, right? Yeah, it's a
And
culture.
you don't realize it.
Well, but I was a computer programmer.
So you were really in trouble.
I got out. Well, I got out during the .com wave.
Yeah.
Right. And the guy who was a computer programmer who got out before me, he moved to Chicago, where he was from. He calls me up. He's like, "Dude, I'm making so much money. It's ridiculous. You got to get out. It's way better. All this stuff." So I went ahead and got out. And right after that, I called him again, and he's like, "Yeah, the .bomb wave started to happen, right?" And he's like, "Yeah, they haven't paid me in 3 months. I hope I get paid this week." And I'm like, "Holy cow!" So.
And by the time we actually got out, he had this friend of ours, who's a really great friend, was cross-training to become a plumber because there were no computer.
That's why I said
there
he was
were
in
no
trouble.
brilliant computer programmer
jobs,
but there were no jobs.
Yeah,
so,
and there wasn't for 15 years.
Yeah,
probably.
it was rough.
Yeah.
So not a great decision, kind of stressful. 'Cause
Sure.
I had a kid, was about to have another kid.
Did you want to be done with the military at that point?
I kind of did, but looking back, I only did because I was a computer programmer, and I really thought it would be better in the civilian world.
Yeah.
Hindsight, I'd probably stay in if I could go back, but it's not like a big regret because obviously our paths take us to where we are now.
And so you moved back to Michigan.
Yes.
And then and so now, how long have you been married at this point?
24 years.
No,
at
that point. No.
24. You had that answer down, though. Let me tell
4
you.
years.
He was
4
waiting
years.
for that question.
So 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years, and you had mentioned you kind of hit this plateau, and you kind of stayed there for 12 years. So, I think it's interesting. Like when you start new things, and you start a new family, you sometimes see this in people. They're so focused on being married, they forget that Jesus is supposed to be the center of their marriage.
Yeah.
And then they have kids, and they're so focused on being a parent, they forget that Jesus is the roadmap to being a good parent, right?
Yeah.
And then you have different. But when you're in the military, there's a couple extra jumps people take when they come out, and now they're moving away. You're losing all your friends twice in a 4-year period. Yeah. That can be tough. So can you just talk to me, like, coming back, finding a church family? What was God like in your house? How did He take you through that time? Like, what was that like?
Well, I'll tell you what I saw in Heather.
Sure.
That she was always extremely devoted.
Yeah.
Always seeking the heart of God, and always. She set an amazing example for me to follow. Like she was, there were so many times in my life where I really had the thought of, I don't think I'd be following Jesus if it weren't for her.
So good.
Because she just really set this example, and I was just kind of like, I was a Sunday Christian, and and I could talk the talk, but didn't really grow much. Sure. And so that's what I saw in Heather. I don't know what she saw in me, but probably not much, because I wasn't necessarily like reading my Bible all the time or anything like that.
Sure.
So.
What was it like for you?
It was rough.
Yeah.
It was really rough. Yeah. And you don't think about those things like when you jump into marriage. I'm sure you guys kind of had this little bit of a learning curve yourselves, right? Where your story. But everything changed for me when I got married, because I was leaving everything I knew. Yeah. Going to a state I had literally never even visited. Sure. To live. I was now a military spouse, which I had no idea going in what that meant. Sure. But I became a number. Yeah. Right? I was his social security number 01. No kidding. Literally. That's how I had to sign into the commissary. That's how I signed into the grocery store. Sorry. Thank you. Yeah.
What was homecoming like in the military?
That's so funny. Very different. So it was a major culture shock for me going in. Sure. Because I'd left everything behind, including school. Because I had talked about like transferring to another school, but I just couldn't find a school that was near enough. Sure. We only had the one car. Right. I had no idea what life was going to look like. We're trying to find a place to live that we can afford. All these things, right? Yeah. And I was a wreck right from the beginning. And then we couldn't find a church. Like you said, that was really a struggle trying to find a church family that was going to be family because we didn't have family.
Yep, I understand
Right?
that. 100%,
So you become family with your coworkers.
Yeah.
Right? So we had Thanksgiving at, one of, the people that were in the Air Force with him in his office, right? We did that every year. These are the people we would have Thanksgiving with and New Year's with, and we usually came home for Christmas. And so going through all that, we finally found this church family down there.
Yeah.
And then he decides, well, we're leaving and we're going to go back home. And these are the people that helped me become a mom.
Yeah.
Because we found that church right after I had Chad.
Yeah.
Like right after, and I'm like, okay, it's go time. This
Right.
is serious. We now have a family.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
We've got to find a church family. I can't do this alone. And so we found this church family, and we're like so close because they became our family.
Right.
Yeah.
We didn't have family around.
Yeah.
And now we're leaving again.
That's tough.
And then when we came home, we really didn't land in a church family. So we came home in 2000. We didn't land in a church family till 2009.
Oh, wow.
Are you
Yeah.
kidding?
Yeah, we were kind of like we went to one
We were
church for a
wanderers.
few years and another church for a few years, but we never. It was every church was basically along the denominational lines that she had grown up in, and so it was always legalism. It was always a lot of don't do's.
Sure. Yeah.
And it was really difficult, and so we just never really felt like we meshed with wherever we were at until 2009. We landed in a church where there was the leader of that church was one of the best leaders of people I've ever seen.
So good.
Just an amazing man, and his wife, just an amazing couple, and they really took us in and became spiritual parents to us.
Really good.
And we went through some major struggles. Like we went through some major issues in our marriage.
Sure.
That they stepped in and just loved us through it.
Amazing.
And
Counseled.
this guy he spent about 40 hours a week doing professional counseling outside of pastoral duties.
Wow.
And so he would do his normal pastoral duties and then bring in the couples for couples counseling all evening, or individual counseling or whatever. And he just really helped us through a time. God put him in our lives in the exact moment. And in addition to that, here we are, we're like a train wreck. But this guy saw something in us, and it was at that time that as we were coming through that, I started really like feeling the Holy Spirit leading me to want to know more, to know more about Him, about His Word, and about the just learning Scripture and all that stuff. And so I ended up starting to go to school again. To another Christian school, but all virtual.
Yeah.
And
It's cheaper
And
that
then
way.
right after that, she did the same thing, same school, same program. So we ended up getting our degrees in biblical studies through this program. And in that process, we became like what you'd call it was student pastors, but it would be like an internship kind of at the church. And she was the children's pastor. And this guy really brought me up, and he saw this ability in me to kind of speak. And so I was preaching there and stuff like that. And that all kind of happened in this one church, this family, where this guy, it blows my mind thinking back to what a train wreck we were, but he saw gold in us.
Amazing.
And he just saw that, and he's like, we know, he knew that there was something special in us. Matter of fact, we had a major fight. I mean, major. She kicked me out. I didn't go anywhere. I slept out in the car, and I called him 3 o'clock in the morning. And he was an old guy. He's like 70 or something. So 3 o'clock in the morning is rough. So I called him, and he's like, "Well, come by in the morning. We'll get it figured out." And it was like 3 weeks later, he set us up to do a couples preaching on Sunday.
No way.
Yeah. He goes,
Wow.
I think you guys would be great at this. And he's just completely encouraging. And it really went well. He was right. But I just can't believe how much he loved us.
So amazing.
Despite all of our flaws.
Yeah. And how long were you at that church?
5 years.
5 years.
Probably.
That's amazing.
And then we were moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We moved down to this area. So
Well, that had to
in
be
Traverse
really
City.
difficult. You've just gone through this 9-year. We've been so fortunate.
Yeah.
Well, in our marriage, we've been so fortunate that I've never known anything but church family. I've never known,
It's amazing.
I got saved at the church I'm still at today, and I've never known anything different. And I'm very grateful for that. But I hear these stories sometimes when people go years looking for a church family.
Yeah.
I think, oh man, I'd have really messed that up. I wouldn't have gone good for me. But now you're with somebody he's pulling the gold out of you. Yeah. Now you're moving again.
Yeah, and we moved actually, and it was a total God thing because God spoke to him and told him it was time to move on, and he actually moved to a different church.
Okay,
and it wasn't for us to go with him.
Sure,
and so God made it very clear that it was time for us to be done there, and we needed to move too. So.
And so then that's when you come to
Grand Rapids.
Yeah, and you find. Did you find the point day one?
No.
Oh, fantastic.
So we stayed in the denomination.
Okay.
For that amount, for right then, just for ease, to be honest.
Of course, yeah.
And like you said, that family had been our family, so we're like, okay, sure. And the senior pastor of that church had recommended this church family to us. So we're like, okay, that's not too far away from where we're going to be living. Perfect, whatever. So we went there, and we were there for
a few years.
Yeah. But the senior pastor there left a year after we got there, not even quite.
Sure.
And so it was just kind of transitional. Everything was kind of transitional, which wasn't great for us because we needed stability in that moment, right?
Yeah.
But we stuck it out, and we were staying. But like he said, we had gone through this biblical studies program, right? So we both have this degree. We're supposed to be
We know more than anybody at the church.
No, not where I was going with that. I'm pretty sure John thought that was the case.
I mean, let's be clear. I've got a degree in this stuff, Anyway, go ahead.
So we're still on that path, though. We were still supposed to be doing this internship thing, right?
Yeah.
And so we're at this new church. We're trying to figure out what that looks like, right? Because we had our roles in this other church. We knew what God was asking us to do there. We go to this new church. It's in complete transition, kind of in upheaval a little bit. And we're like, what are we supposed to be doing? And we really just started questioning the whole grace and law.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because we were still in a denomination that was very law focused.
Yeah.
And we just, the more we read our Bibles, God was revealing stuff to us. And so we would take that and we'd be like, okay, so it says here, right? And, Jesus is constantly showing grace, right?
Yeah.
And all of these things. And, but we just have so many rules. And I just feel like Holy Spirit's not really got a place here. Never talked about.
There's always something missing. It always just felt like there's this missing ingredient.
We knew something was missing.
Yeah.
And we stayed. We were committed, right? And honestly, the kids had friends there.
Sure.
They were in the youth group, stuff like that. So it was really hard. But at the same time, we knew God was calling us away.
Yeah.
But we stayed anyway.
Yeah.
Have you ever done that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And so it got really difficult because every week we were questioning the teaching.
Sure.
Because it just got to the point where it just wasn't even biblical anymore.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Right? Yeah. And the kids, we'd be in the car, and it ended up being a 40-minute car ride
to
where we ended up moving to. So we're in the car for 40 minutes on the way home, and the kids would be like, so they said this today in class, and they said that today in class, and we're like, oh.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
Sure.
Wait, what are they teaching you?
Yeah.
And we're like, and so we'd have to undo some things every time. Mm-hmm. And it was it got to the point where we're like, we can't do this.
Yeah.
This isn't, they're not basing their teaching on the Bible.
Sure.
Yeah,
we just can't do it.
It was tough. And we ended up, so from there, we ended up, one day on the way home, I was like, that's it. Well, we can't go there anymore.
Yeah.
And kids, I know you got friends, so if that means we go every other week, and on the off weeks, we're going to find a new place. And we'll do that, right? And the very next week, we went to this place not far from here, another church not far from here. And we walked in there, and the first Sunday we went, it was it felt like the church hop lifestyle again. Like, we're not going to find a family here. We just like, what is going on with this, right? And so we're like, the guy's preaching and telling all of his sorrows. It wasn't really preaching. And so he's up there and we're on our phones, like looking for other churches.
Googling other churches while we were there. It's bad, but
sure enough, she found this place called The Point.
Wow.
And we were like, we'll go
we're
there
like,
next
that's
week.
right around the corner. We've never even heard of it.
We'll go there
No
next week.
kidding.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
And
So walking in here, first of all, there's not a cross. Where's the cross?
Right.
you guys,
I don't know. Is this a real church? Like, this is a Christian church, right?
Yeah.
Not a cross on any of these walls, right? And there's like lights, and I'm like, what is going on? I think there was a smoke machine in the back.
It probably
What is
was.
this?
Yeah.
And so we sit in here, and this, worship starts, and Kayla Casca is leading worship,
Yeah.
and she gets up
Amazing.
there, and I'm pretty sure she quoted
She did.
the one Saturday Night Live guy where she's like, make use of the space, come on up and make use of the room, take advantage of the space. And I'm back here literally arms crossed,
He looked
Mr.
exactly
Legalistic,
like this.
right? Because we were fighting the legalism at this
Sure.
church, but here
Yeah.
I was walking into freedom,
Yeah.
with my legalistic mindset, right? So I'm like arms crossed. I'm like,
He was
I
mad.
was like, what is going on?
he goes,
And
did she just say utilize the space?
And she
Did
says,
she just say
and she
that?
starts jumping. I'm like, why are you jumping? And people got their hands in the air, and I'm like, I ain't a hands raising kind of dude, And I'm like, what is going on? And there's lights, and I'm like, I don't get it. And it's loud, and I'm just like, what is going on? And so I'm just standing there, just like, and I wasn't even singing. And when worship was all done, it was funny when the guy who got up to do the announcements, and no, he wasn't doing. He was giving a word. Got up to give a word, and I turned over to Heather and I said, I bet he doesn't even know how to do an inductive Bible study.
He said that.
I got it.
And I talked to that guy later, and he goes, I don't. So anyway, afterwards, it was interesting because I looked over at Heather and I said, I was just about to say, well, got to find another place for next week. And she goes, look at the kids.
Yeah.
And I looked over, and they were lit up. They were so engaged in worship.
So amazing.
And it just kind of like hit me. And then Andrew got up and preached, and it was it was exactly what we needed. It was right to
So
the heart.
good.
And that's when we came back it's been here ever since. We just fell in love. And
You've made some real good friends here.
yeah.
Yes.
Your kids have. We talked about.
Yep.
We were so blessed because we came back from California and all of our kids were leaving their friends. And I don't want to say we weren't nervous about Nicole finding friends, were we? But a little. And right away she became friends with both your girls.
Yeah.
And it was really special for her, and it's been interesting watching you guys these last few years, right? Because I come back. You guys were at the GR campus when I came back, and that's how I got to know you. You were there, and we got to sit down and chat. Sometimes I was here in Caledonia, and now you're part of the Caledonia campus. But watching you, it's been really interesting because you guys moved how long ago? About a year ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, almost.
About a year ago. And can you just share? I just think this is a really cool testament. Can you just share about this journey with this house that you're now in?
Yeah. Yeah, so a little backstory is that 11 years ago now, I was terrible with my finances.
Sure.
And through the whole housing, thing that happened in 2010, our mortgage doubled.
Yeah.
Because we had an adjustable rate
Yep.
mortgage.
Yep.
And I wasn't good with my finances, and so we ended up getting way behind on our payments.
Sure.
And got a phone call one day saying, hey, we're working on a plan for you. We think we can work it out for you, And I got to a point where I was making payments again, but I was way behind.
Yeah.
And they were like, I think we can work it out. You've been making your payments. You're good to go, And literally the next day I get a phone call. I was substitute teaching at the time.
Wow.
And at lunchtime, I get this phone call, and they said, yeah, you got to be out in 2 weeks. And I was like,
Wow.
whoa, what? And they were like, I thought you were going to work on a plan. They were like, no, you got to be out. We're going to foreclose. And we'll give you $8,000 if you leave clean. And I was like, whoa. And then you have to understand, this house is like, it was on 13 acres that Heather's parents gifted us. It's the property she grew up on. So this isn't like her house. This is like part of like her life.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've lost it.
Yep. Yeah.
And I just felt like such a failure.
Sure.
And I was praying and standing in authority.
Yeah.
And my God is bigger than this mortgage company, and I'm going to keep this house. And I was praying in faith and praying and praying. And then one day God told me, just let it go.
Yeah.
It's all right. Just let it go. I'll take care of you. And I decided to just change my prayers and I started saying, Lord, whatever happens, I'm going to praise you anyway. It doesn't matter because I know you're going to take care of me. And sure enough, within a couple weeks of the foreclosure, he put us in a house that was cheaper, and it was closer to where I was working, and it was just a much better situation. It was in a little neighborhood, and kids made friends right away.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. And he just really blessed us through that process.
How was that for like you? I mean, obviously you grew up.
It was really rough because
Yeah.
I didn't realize through that process how bad it had gotten
Sure.
because I just didn't know.
Yeah.
He hadn't shared it with me.
Yeah.
So when I found out we had to be out in 2 weeks, I was a little surprised.
So you didn't know it was coming at all?
I knew that there were some issues with the mortgage company.
Sure,
Because he'd
sure.
been getting phone calls and he's on the phone a lot. He's like, there's some stuff going on. We're getting it figured out.
Yeah.
But then he came home and said, no, we need to be out of this house in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And I was like,
that's
it was
hard.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It really was
Yeah.
heartbreaking.
And that was 11 years ago.
Yeah.
11
Yeah.
years
So
ago.
then what happened was through the 10-year time frame, God gave me some. He kind of like coached me through life a little bit and gave me some revelation on finances and helped me to really get some things under control and be a better steward with everything in my life, but including my money. And really helped me get things on track. And so a year ago, at the beginning of COVID, when the housing market closed for a moment, nobody being able to show homes and stuff. We were online searching and we found this house that was it was on 5 acres. It's a little hobby farm. It's a house built in 1873, but all renovated, mostly renovated and redone, but still kept classic. It was exactly what we were looking for. And I showed, and it was a little outside of our search area.
Sure.
And so we hadn't seen it before this, but it popped up in the closed down time of COVID. And I showed it to Heather and she's like, I really love that. And so we talked to our realtor and, who goes to the point, and she got us all set up to when on May 5th of last year, when it all opened back up,
D-Day, you could start
we were
looking
the
at houses
first
again.
people to look at that house.
No way.
And we walked in there and fell in love. And
cool.
it was interesting because in that, right around that same time, we were in a meeting, and Jeff Johnson gave me a word, and he said, God told me, he said, he's really proud of you.
So good.
That you've grown 10 years
Yeah.
in the last year. And
That's
I thought,
amazing.
Yeah, right? The 10-year time frame. And I was like, wow. And then this happened, and it was a lot of hoops to jump through to get this to happen.
Yeah.
And it ended up that we offered $10,000 over her asking price because somebody else was there to look at the house, and I was approved for it, so I wanted to make sure we got it and stuff like that. But the way we got our loan, we had to have this extra inspection done, and the bank appraisal came back at what was it, $45,000 less than our offer price.
Yeah.
And so there were one of two options: either she needed to come down on her price, or we needed to bring $45,000 to the table. I was like, well, I don't have $45,000.
Yeah. Not right now.
Can't
right now.
scrounge
Let me
that
make
together.
a quick call.
Yeah, I can't scrounge that together. And honestly, through this process, we were trying all this creative financing and can we take 2 loans and all this stuff, but again, God said, just let go.
Yeah.
It's fine, just let go. And I just said, Lord, whatever happens, I'll praise you anyway. The next morning, the realtor called me and she said the seller accepted their appraisal price. And so it knocked $45,000 off the price. And we walked, when we walked in there, the first time I was at the property, that when we owned it, I just went and laid in the grass and just cried because I was just so blessed that God brought us through this whole journey, this decade journey of feeling like a loser and feeling like such a failure because I lost not only our family property where my kids still say they're from Kingsley. My youngest only lived there for 7 years. You live outside of Kingsley for more of your life, for an entire decade after you moved, right? And so I'm like, but they still call that home, and I'm like, every time they talked about it, I just felt like a failure.
Sure.
And actually one day I brought that up in this whole process. I brought up the foreclosure, and Heather stopped me and she goes, you're still
Sure.
You're still
Yeah.
feeling like a loser, aren't you?
Yeah.
I was shocked.
That's
Yeah, I
still
bet,
that's
yeah.
still affecting you. She goes, let it go. It's
amazing.
over. We're done,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so now we're there, and it's an amazing property. Our daughter's getting married there, and we just absolutely. And it's not everybody's dream home, but it's ours.
That's
And
amazing.
I heard you're a farmer.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
he tells everyone.
Bit of a hobby farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the house came with 10 chickens.
Nice.
Come on, all right.
Yeah, and a cat and a duck. And
Nice.
yep, so we get a lot of eggs, and we're probably gonna get a goat. And I mean, last week I fixed about 300 square feet of the barn floor.
Amen.
Replaced
He's
my-
super proud of himself.
replaced most of it myself. My neighbor, who's a commercial construction guy, he came down and helped me with
Listen,
some
I
Just
tell-
a little bit of
Just a little bit.
just probably 3 boards, you
Right.
know. But I did most of it myself.
It's
pretty
been
impressive.
it's one of those when we talked about doing this podcast with you guys. I remember when you offered in the house and we were going through that moment where it didn't look like you were going to get it.
We
You guys
came to
called-
you guys,
Yep.
pray with us.
Yep. And remember we prayed.
Stand
And
in prayer with
I
us.
remember you laughed. I said they're going to get that house. That like it's all going to work out. And then I don't know why this happened, but you guys didn't tell us it worked out. Right?
It was a minute there.
Yeah, well, no, yeah, but you guys didn't say anything, so I ran into you at a meeting. I said, "What's going on with the house?" And he was like, "Oh, I forgot to call you. We got it."
Sorry
We-
about that.
yeah, no, totally sorry. But
I knew though. 'Cause
she knew because
told me.
Nicole had told her.
Yeah.
Right?
From
I
Tyler.
feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
we don't need to tell you things.
No, I usually
Yeah.
comes the wrong
because we know what's going on with you guys all the time because Nicole tells us. So I
Right.
figure the translation is coming
Yeah.
through no matter what we
Absolutely.
do.
But I
So-
remember like praying and just being at such peace you were going to get the house. I felt like God was this. I'll always remember thinking, man, ever since I've known you, you guys have been a great example of stewarding finance and I think you have wisdom in how you operate in your finances. And you've always been, both of you have just been great examples of spiritual maturity when it comes to what I would call biblical responsibilities. And I thought, there's no way God's not going to give them this house.
Yeah.
Like it's clearly their house. And I don't think I'd ever heard the story of the foreclosure at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember me and you said we were at Steak and Shake at one point, and
yeah.
that was when you told me. And I could see, it bothered you at the time, but I thought, man, that's such a different John. Like it's not even the same guy.
Yeah.
And this whole journey of you guys in the house, and I love that part where you said like they talk about she lived there 7 years, but then she says she's from there.
Yeah.
But now your kid's getting married at the new house,
Yeah.
and that'll be the place where that becomes their foundation of
Yep.
their marriage and their family, and it becomes
Yeah.
a new family legacy home.
Yep.
And
Right.
I wanted you guys just to tell your story because I know it'll encourage people
Yeah.
that no matter what happens, God's faithful.
Yes.
And,
Amen.
and He takes care of it all. And I think you guys have been a great example of that. And I am very excited. The first time we'll see your house is at the wedding.
Yes.
Which,
I just think it's amazing. You can go from an all-star track star right to a farmer.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I know. I, like
Pretty versatile.
what a
you go.
journey.
what a journey.
What a journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But guys, I just want to tell you, I think you're amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your testimony
Yeah.
and your
Yeah.
story.
Yeah,
And I can't wait to have you on again sometime down the road to hear about your grandkids getting married at your house.
Oh, so excited about it.
So congratulations. We're so
Thank you.
excited for you guys and just proud of you. Love you
Thank
so
you.
much.